This morning we are going to look at how to do your UCAS application form. Okay, one of the things I'm going to focus on in one or two places is the classic mistakes that people make. So let's sort of pitch in. So this is my little preamble. Okay, this assembly is being recorded. It is primarily for you and for your parents. Okay, there is a parents' evening coming up, not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday in the evening, which is for them. Okay, you don't need to come because you will already had the information as far as that is concerned. I'm hoping to have the recording up on YouTube hopefully by the time I go, about 12:30, but I will index it this afternoon so that you can, if you don't understand, you can actually go through and pick off the sections that you need to watch, because this is going to be quite a long video. There are still some people who initially indicated to me that they wanted to be early entry people who have not sent me an email. So if you haven't, I need from you an email sent to my email address, your full name, your tutor group. One or two people haven't actually put in the course to be studied. I do need to know if you are going for Oxford or Cambridge or medics, vets, dentistry, all of that sort of thing. Your A-levels and an email address, which is the one you're going to put on your UCAS, not your school one that's made in early schools, etc. Okay, it may come from that, but I need to know that other email address so that we can send you some information later on bits and pieces. Open days. One of the reasons for moving the personal statements assembly from next week is I am well aware there are quite a lot of people who said they want to go to Bath and Bristol next Friday for their open day. Okay, if you are planning to do that, okay, I need an email and I will approve it with attendance. Okay, but I do need to know for that. So email me and we can take that from there. Okay, so we today are looking at the process. Okay, also I have a Google Classroom, and currently there are 240 of you and only 192 are on that Google Classroom. So that means some of you are not getting the links and some of you are not getting the PowerPoints that are there. And I am posting information on there virtually every day at the moment as stuff comes through about open days, various other bits and pieces. Okay. So, let me just say, you may say, I'm not going to university. That might be your decision at the moment. We need everybody to have gone through and filled in a UCAS application form, even if it doesn't get sent. The reason for that is that your tutor can then write a reference and it can go on the system, even if you don't click send, because we archive them. And last year, I had about 25 students who hadn't applied to university, who came back to us and said, now I'm thinking about applying, and we will support you for 3 years post your leaving. But for a couple of them, we had no information at all. There was no reference, and so therefore we had to come up with something fairly generic. Okay? So that's why it just puts everything in place for us and helps us. Okay. Use a PC. Do not try and do your application on your phone. Okay, there are drop-down boxes where it's very easy to select the wrong thing. Okay, find a PC. If you haven't got a PC, you haven't got access to a laptop, there are some in school and we can do it then. Okay, and early entry students need to stick to the deadlines. Okay, this is the timeline that we looked at before. Okay, so here we are, 7th of June. I'm going to give you a key piece of information in a minute that will allow you to start your UCAS application, and those are the deadlines that we've looked at before. Here is our table just to get it in place. So this is the one that has moved. The personal statements assembly, as I said, has moved from next Friday to the following Friday to the 21st of June, just to accommodate the United Nations Day and some Open Universities days. Right, okay, I'm going to fly through this because you need to register on the UCAS Hub for an account. Okay, so I've got down here that only 114 of you have done so far, and there are over 240 of you. Okay, so despite telling you back in the end of May, mid-May, that you needed to register on the UCAS hub, I can only see 114 of you, which means there's quite a few yet to even do that stage. So let's just quickly run through. Okay, you must use a personal email address. Okay, because you may wish to access this information after you have left next July for obvious reasons. Okay, you will get an email to verify your account, which has a number. You then put the number in to make sure your email address is valid, and as I've said, make sure it's appropriate. Okay, you get to this. These are slides I've got from UCAS, but one of the key things is make sure you put down the right year. There are already some people on there, I recognise their names, and they have actually selected 2024 for their application. Okay, so make sure it's 2025, so that it groups all of those in the right place. Okay, you are going to do undergraduate study. Would you like some information on? You've got some, I know some of you've put down you want apprenticeship information, because I can see that in the UCAS hub. Some of you may want some about conservatoires. That's for the arts, the music people. You may wish to have that information. And where do you live? And that gives us, so that actually UCAS can actually send you the right sort of information. And I'll come back to why that's important again when we look at the form. Okay, you've got this option on information. You're asked to put in 3 subjects you might like to study. That's not committing you, but it helps UCAS then automatically starts to give you relevant information. Will actually even start to send you, I believe, switching on this weekend, should be information about open days relating to those courses. Okay, you then you want still at school. You can actually search for the school and put that in. Okay, there's something called the buzzword, which I'll get to in a minute, but you can link to the school and you create an account. Now, there is one very, very important box you must tick. Under data protection, you don't have to share your information with the school. If you do that, we can't see your UCAS account. We can't check it for errors. We only put in a reference. Okay, that puts you at a severe disadvantage. It also means that we can't see your offers. And therefore, I've had students come to me and say, oh, can you help me with my offers? I'm going, but I can't see them. I don't know what you've got. Okay, so please make sure the default is no, so make sure you move that to the yes box so that we can actually see your application and what happens post sending your application off. Okay, so having done that, you've got a hub account. Away we go. You're now going to start doing your proper application. So, can I say before I start, I am not covering the content of every box. If I was, we would be here probably till the end of school today, because depending upon what boxes you tick, depends upon what sort of options you get. So, that's an important thing. For some of you, it will be fairly straightforward. For some of you, it will actually come up with some different boxes, and I'm going to cover the key ones this morning. Okay, so in the hub, you click on the start button because you're going to start your application. Okay, you make sure you select the right year. There's a second chance of getting that year right. Okay, and therefore you are going to click on where it says undergraduate, and away you go. So, it says, are you applying for a school or college? The answer is yes, and this is the key word you need. It's the buzzword. The buzzword is dragon. Okay? That is our buzzword for you. That then allows you, when you enter that, okay, you then link to the school. Okay? It's not for all schools have different buzzwords. Okay? We get in early so we can select. You can't duplicate. Okay, so some other school who decided, oh, they want to use dragon as their buzzword, can't, because we've actually got that now. So you use that, and you actually click in and put the buzzword in, and it will link you to Maiden Early School. And you get this screen. It says your buzzword is from Maiden Early School. Is this correct? And you click yes. And away we go. You then have to select your tutor group. Now, I don't know whether or not you've got 6 tutor groups in each half of year 12, but I've just left that there because it saves the setup issues. So select your tutor group. You obviously know, and obviously don't go into the past students. Those are for students who are applying maybe from year 13 post in September and stuff like that, or into, okay? And then you click on save. If you don't hit the save button as you go through, you will lose your information. So, application overview. Once you do that, you go back to the overview in the hub, okay, and you can see how far you've got at any particular point in time. Okay, this was one I grabbed. So here this student has not put any choices in and is about 22% through, and they haven't started their personal statement. Those will change as you go through. So you end up with a series of tiles. Okay, the tiles are to make it easy for you to go back when you're on your phone, for example, to click in bits and pieces. But as far as filling it in, you need to do this on a PC or a laptop. So let's go through the boxes. So first of all, we go in for your personal details. Okay, some of that has been pre-populated from the UCAS hub. Okay, you need to go into the top box and you need to put your title. If you've got any previous names, which probably don't apply to you, is more aimed at the mature students, maybe somebody who's got married and is wanting to go to university in their 20s or 30s. Okay, and then it has got your preferred name. Okay, now, the name you have put up the top there must be the name on your birth certificate. Okay, you can put in here whatever you like. That might be your preferred name. Okay, if there are some people in the room who are maybe identifying differently to what's on their birth certificate, that is where you put that information in. Your GCSE results should be under the name that is on your birth certificate. If you put a different name in here, your GCSE results no longer apply to your UCAS application. We've had this problem before. I was on a chat just a couple of days ago when this was being discussed. UCAS came on and said students must ensure that the names that you've got there are the ones that are on your birth certificate, and therefore they're the ones on your GCSE certificates. Otherwise, they will not link across. In here, you can put in whatever you like, whatever you are currently identified as, and you need to make sure you put your date of birth. Okay, click this mark section as complete and save this section. Can I say only on 2 occasions in the last number of years have I had students who have been transitioning or have transitioned. Okay, you can only put that in there if you have gone through the whole legal process. Other than that, you have to put your birth certificate in, and that's vitally important that you get that right at the very beginning. Okay, contact details. So, number of students don't bother to put their mobile phone in. Okay, you can put a landline in if you want, and your email address should be the one that has been pulled across from the hub because we made sure we got that right. You then need to look up your address, and basically you can put in the UK address, and there's a look up there to put up your address. That's the address you're currently living at. I'll come back to addresses in a minute. Also on this box is something called nominated access. The number of times students don't put that in because they miss it. It's basically is somebody who could act on your behalf, particularly when you get to results day, who can ring up and say, you know, I've been put down, normally mum, dad, maybe an aunt or uncle, somebody, and they are the only people who can talk to UCAS on your behalf. We've had students who've been in hospital. We've had also students, a few years ago we had some students who were abroad and couldn't get back in time for results day and actually needed to sort something out. Okay, that allows somebody to talk on your behalf. Up to submission, you can change that, but it's vital that you put somebody in as your nominated access. Okay, here we go. This is the one that becomes slightly interesting, which is the nationality details. And I've already had students come and see me and talk about this. Okay, so for the vast majority of you, you will put down you were born in the UK, you're a UK national, you tick that box and you save that section and you're done. Okay. However, there are some of you who have joined us from a variety of countries over the years. You've been born somewhere else around the world. That's fabulous. However, it makes life a little bit more interesting. Okay, so if you then start to pick different nationalities, and I've picked this one because here it just does that if you pick UK national. If you don't pick UK national, as I said to you, the more boxes open up. Okay, for you to and you then have to talk about settled status. None of you will have a visa to study in the UK because you're under 18 and therefore you're covered by your parents and various. You need to put in, obviously, if your parents have a particular visa, look at your passport and what does it say about you, because whatever your status is, it'll be the same as your parents. Okay, and if they have a visa for the UK, you need to put in when you start and when you end it. Okay? So, this is now carrying on. Okay? So, for example, the default has come up here that you need a student visa to study in the UK. You need to check that. There are various guide boxes. There's a website here. Do you currently have a passport? So if you weren't born in the UK, okay, you will need to put in the passport number for the passport that you currently have. Okay, and there are some more bits and pieces and place where it was issued. Okay, this is why I say you need to do this on a laptop, because it starts to add a lot of detail. Okay, we now have to consider where you currently live. Okay, now, basically, if you have lived in the same place for the last 3 years, then it's very straightforward. Okay, you put in your current address, you put in when you started living there, and if it was prior to the 1st of September 2022, bang, 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 through you go, and you can save that address. It's not an issue. Okay, if, however, you have moved around the UK, you will therefore need to put in those other addresses, because UCAS need to know where you have lived since the 1st of September 2022. Okay, and there are a whole series. I've grabbed some drop-down boxes. As you can see, it then starts to get. Okay, if you have you're in the military, or you have were born in Hong Kong and you've recently moved, that's a particularly interesting one. Okay, you can put that in. Or if one of your parents is in the military and they have had British Forces postal PO boxes to identify where they are, that will go in and you can click on there, and because that becomes one of the drop downs. Okay, if you've got any questions about that, either come and see me or there is some help on the UCAS website. But you can see it does get slightly interesting. Okay, and this is a typical, I've just left this slide in from UCAS because I don't think any of you if you were abroad at any point in time in the last 3 years, you need to fill in the address, but you need to fill in the address, as it says here very carefully, using the English alphabet. Okay, so what should happen is it should flag up, and it will give you a box just to check that you have actually got your addresses correct. There are, as I said, there are lots of little question mark buttons if this is a problem, or come and see me and I can help you. Once you've got your application underway, then we can have a look and see if I can help you. And you have to confirm your home address, and then again mark the section as complete and save this section. That could be complicated, but as I said, for some of you it'll be very straightforward. Hopefully this has helped, but if necessary you can go back and have a look at the slides. Okay, supporting information, very, very simple. This one here, have you ever worked in the EU? No. Do you have a parent? Read the questions, mark as complete. That one is very simple. Right, finance and funding. Now, here is a classic one that people get wrong. Okay, they select private finance because their parents have said, we are going to pay your tuition fees. If you do that, you actually become eligible for the full £36,000 of tuition fees. I hope you're realising that you don't want to do that. So if you are living in the UK, you select That's what we used to call O2. For those of you who've been, some tutors have been doing this for a number of years. It's the second one down, and you select where you live. So it's going to be Reading, Wokingham, or West Berkshire, or it might be Oxfordshire if you're living in the top end of Caversham. Okay? Can I say we've had a number of students who put Wolverhampton, because Wolverhampton is the next one down from Wokingham. They just click a box, they're not very careful. Maybe they were doing it on their phone and they end up with that as an error. Okay? So make sure you select the right box. And, as I've said, you need to do that because even if you don't plan to take out a tuition fee loan, you only are eligible for the £9,250 and Wokingham, Reading or West Berkshire pay the rest. That's definitely good news. Okay, and that will not change as irrespective of what happens at the beginning of July. Okay, so we have some diversity and inclusion questions. This is for you guys. Fill that in very quickly. Shouldn't take you more than, less than a minute to fill those questions in. And then there is a question about this one here, which is, have you ever been in care? Now, I have marked this one here. It says, with foster carers under local authority in a residential children's home, in a looked after home under a supervision order. Most of you, none of those apply. There are a few of you. However, this one has changed. And it says, living with friends or relatives in kinship care. So it might be you are living with your grandparents. Okay, if you have been there for more than 9 months, or that is your general, in the last year, you can tick that box. Okay, and by doing that, it actually opens up a door to additional finance for you further down the road. So that's important that if that is the case, you actually put that, you click yes, and then you can fill in some more details. Okay, couple of others. It asks you about your parental education. In other words, have your parents been to university? If the answer is no, then what that may well do, if you're the first generation of somebody to go to university, in other words, your parents haven't been to university, there is more funding available, okay, which you can apply for further down the road. And that every penny helps, as they say. And it's useful to actually, this is not a compulsory question, but if you actually put something in there, what actually happens is that depending upon what it is that your parents do, that may, as I say, open some more funding. So important that you answer those two questions. Okay, now there is a section, the next one is called More About You. Now this is a section that is vastly misunderstood by students. Okay, and as a result, miss out on things. Can I say nothing you put in these two boxes will actually affect your application? But they open doors for help further down the road. So, none. If there is nothing that affects your education, your day-to-day activities, you put none, you mark it as complete, and on you go. There is a list here of various bits and pieces. I just want to mention them because they are important. It says up the top, you have a learning difference. Okay, that is dyslexia, dyspraxia, or ADD or ADHD. Okay, can I say you can have that if you use a laptop in lessons as your normal way of working? Okay, that's important because might be important. Can I also put in here, if you get extra time in an exam, that needs to go in there as well. Okay, so look down the list. It's got visual impairment, hearing impairment, long-term illness, mental health conditions. Can I say that has to be diagnosed and that has to be something that you are already talking to a healthcare professional about? Okay, there are, if you're autistic, Tourette's, all those bits and pieces, you can read them, okay, and you need to put some details in there. If you've got any issues, got any questions, come and have a talk to me about it. Gentlemen in the middle, you were spoke to earlier. Focus, please. Okay, so it's important that you put that in there, because it may be that your tutors, for example, you may use a laptop in a lesson. Your tutor may not be aware of that. This has happened this year, okay, and it was highlighted, and therefore they can comment on that in a section in their reference. Okay, whole series of other, do you have any caring responsibilities? That will open up a different box where you've got to put all of those you can see. Can I say also, if you are in receipt of free school meals, you need the box you need to tick down there. Okay, whoops. It jumped on. Right, education, here we go. So, you need to put in where your places of education. So, if you have only been at Maiden Early School, those are the dates. It's amazing how many people don't know when they started at Maiden Early School. If you were at Maiden Early in Reading or at any of the other schools, only had room for MER, okay, those are your dates at MER, and then you add in, so you need 2 places of education. If you've joined us from Reading Girls' School, from any of the other schools, anywhere around, you need to put both of those schools in. Can I say dates for sitting exams? A number of students get this one wrong, particularly RE. Because most of you will have done RE in year 10, not in year 11. And can I say, if it doesn't match on your certificates, UCAS throw it out. So you could lose a GCSE. So make sure, I've noted this down, that your GCSEs were 06 2023, but RE was taken in 06 2022. Okay, and 06 2025 is for your A2s and your BTECs. Okay, so make sure you get that right, and the dates will go in there. Right, you need to add both what you're taking and what you have taken, excuse me. So, we have come up with shortlists. I hope that in the shortlists we have covered everything. Every year somebody turns around and says there's something. So, for example, the important one for you need to be aware of is there is standard GCSEs here. You click on the GCSEs, and science is the one that is sometimes a bit of an issue, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So, you can maybe start with your A-levels, put the ones in your studying, and then go on to put your GCSEs in. And the centre numbers are here. Okay, you should know, Maiden Early School 51603, the MER is 51210, okay? Or whatever the school is that you actually took your GCSEs at. Okay, so here is a sample. So, A-levels, 3 A-levels. The qualification date is going to be 0625, and you will note that the grades are marked as pending, and I've put that up here, pending. I have picked up on the one that if you are somebody who has done the dual award science, not triple science, and in other words the physics, chemistry and biology, you need to select, when you select from that qualification shortlist, you need to make sure you have GCSE double award 9 to 9, 1 to 1, and then put in the qualification date, and you put in your grades, okay, from the pair auto-selected grades. It's important that you do that, otherwise you miss out on a GCSE. You then find you've only got 8 instead of 9. So that's the one that people make the biggest mistake with. The rest everybody can get, okay? And don't forget to put in other qualifications, i.e. music qualifications. By the way, we do not need to know that in year 7 you took grade 1 piano, and then you took grade 2 piano, and grade 3 piano, and grade 4 piano. And, you've managed since you were, you've got all the grades. We're only really interested in the last couple of years, or the highest grade you achieved. Ideally for music, it's only grade 5 and above. And obviously, if you've got grade 5 or above, you've got a theory exam in there as well, if I remember rightly. If you are doing D of E, okay, they are really only interested in silver and gold, because a vast number of people, and you don't get any additional points for bronze. However, if you have done bronze, silver and gold, all 3, then you put all 3 down, and that actually awards you 10 UCAS points. Okay, so when it comes to totalling up, that might be important for you. Okay, it's also if you're somebody who has an interview, that's something that they may wish to talk about. Okay, so if you've done all three, put all three down, but if you've only done bronze, it's don't worry. Okay, let's carry on. Right, English. Now, if you have got, okay, so it asks up there your unique learner number. If you don't know it, don't worry about it. And that's primarily for international students. Okay, English. Basically, it says English certificates are often as international students. Now, as far as I am aware, they have removed the question when I checked last week about, English your first language, okay? If you have GCSE English, English is your first language, okay? You may have a different language that you talk at home, but please, otherwise, if you don't put that down, then you're going to have to, it then incurs all sorts of other questions about tests that you've got to take, etc., etc. So if you have GCSE English, then you leave that blank because that's assumed that you have and it's picked up from somewhere else. Okay, employment. Some of you are employed, okay? So it's very straightforward. You just put in any work that you have. Don't forget you have to put down part-time because you can't be full-time in employment and full-time at school. Okay, extra activities. There are some bits and pieces if you have done some bits and pieces during the summer to support your application. Maybe if you've gone to some summer schools or bits and pieces like that, they're interested in that. So that's fairly self. Right, personal statement. We're going to leave that out at the moment. That's what we're going to look at in a fortnight's time. But as you go through, it will say, do you want to leave this blank without saving any changes? And the answer is yes at this point in time as you progress through. So we will talk about that. Right, choices. Then you have to put on where you want to go. Okay, and it's very, very simple. You click add a choice and it's all drop-down boxes. So, for example, you start to type University of Southampton. It should then give you the options. This one was medicine. Okay, and the start date, that start date is wrong because, of course, you're doing September. I've spotted this one. Okay, that one should say whatever the date is in 2025. Okay, so you add some choices. Do you have any unspent criminal convictions? The answer to that one has to be no. Okay, and then you save and away you go. Okay, and it will start, their choices start to appear. Now, let me say one thing. The order in which you apply and which you put these in does not matter. Okay? In Mummy and Daddy's day, it did. Some of the staff here, it mattered what order in which you put the universities in. It doesn't matter because they do not know which other universities you've applied to. So here, okay, we've got the University of Aberystwyth and the University of Buckingham. Okay? Neither of those know that you've applied to the other one. Okay, I had a student, not this summer, the summer before, who kept saying I kept deleting them and putting them back in back in order of choice. No, that doesn't matter. Okay, irrespective of what your parents say about the order in which you put them in, it doesn't matter. Okay, so don't get hung up about that. Okay, so some obviously of the entries, you need to maybe take an admissions test and an assessment. This will appear. Okay, those of you who are applying early entry will know what your test you've got to take, particularly the medics and the vets and the dentists. Okay, for some of the other universities, there may well be a test. There's the whole ranch of tests. Look it up on the website and see what it is that you actually have. Okay, you can't apply to Oxford and Cambridge at the same time, so I just did this one, so it flags up an error. Okay, so here we are. We can't make more than one application to Oxford. Okay, if you tried to do that, or if there's Oxford and Cambridge, it says check your choices. It's very good at sorting out that sort of error. So you end up. Right, okay. When you get to the point where it says 100% and you're ready to send your application, this is what you have to do. Okay, we've got 100%, we've got 100% here, so we're ready to go. So you will press the submit button. Okay. It will then show you your full application. it offers you a choice of downloading it as a PDF. Can I suggest you do so at that point in time? Okay? You say you want, and check it very, very carefully. Okay? You want to accept and proceed. Away you go. There are some marketing preferences again. You may opt no to any of those. Okay? You can pick those and choose those. You then have to read the terms and conditions. Make sure you read the terms and conditions. Okay? One of the terms and conditions is that if you firm up on a choice when you get an offer, you are committing yourself to going there unless there are extenuating circumstances. So actually read it through, click accept and proceed, and then you have to pay. Okay? You need to pay using a credit card. Okay? So this is why you probably do that at home. Okay, or if you've actually got a debit card of your own and you're going to pay the £28.50, great, that's fine. You can proceed and maybe claim it back from your parents later. You put the card details in and you get pay now. Shh, nearly there. Okay, and then you get this lovely sign that says thank you, and within about a minute, when you go back into the hub, it then says track is available to allow you to track various bits and pieces that are going on. Okay, you can see your application. You can only see a read-only version from then on. Okay, so let's do the final notes. Okay, it's not next Friday for personal statements. That is going to be on the 21st. You have to put all your GCSEs that you were entered for onto UCAS, even if you've got a U grade or you've got an X grade. Okay, they have to be on the system. Okay, deferred entry. If you are planning to apply and then take a gap year with what's called a deferred entry, not applying for 2026 in that application year, you need to contact the university just to make sure that they will accept a deferred entry. Okay, some will not. Some are now saying, well, you have to apply during that cycle. Can I just flag up that those who are applying for 2026 are going to have a very different personal statement? It's probably going to have 7 questions. So it's going to be very different if you decide you're going to leave your application for another year. Okay, just to summarise, you can enter 5 choices. You don't have to put down 5 choices. If you only find 3 universities which you want to apply to, put down 3. That's fine. You might only put down 1. What it does mean is that later on you can add some more choices if you've only used 4, but that can't happen until after the end of January. Can't apply to Oxford and Cambridge. It's going to cost you £28.50, and you can follow all your offers on track. Your subject teachers are starting to work on your references and predicted grades. They're starting to think about them. These are collected and edited by the school. Your tutors will check the reference. Can I say that is where there is a box for them to put extenuating circumstances? That is where they will confirm with you whether you got extra time or whether or not there's other bits and pieces. You need to talk to your tutors about if there's anything untoward that is happening, and they will talk to you. And then the UCAS coordinator checks it and sends the form to UCAS. Okay, for you, make sure you are booking for open days. Okay, anywhere you want to go, book. Make sure you book those subject talks. You don't want to end up in a queue waiting for them. Check if you need to do a test, okay, because if you need to do the UCAT, I think the booking, I'm not quite sure what the date is, but it's very shortly that the bookings are opening for that. If you need to do any of the other tests, I think the Pearson portal for those opens at the beginning of September. But check. I haven't checked recently. So, there we go. That is how to do your UCAS application.